into a really packed and exciting afternoon. So first up, we have Ido Yerushalmi. Ido is the Senior Director of Business Development of EMEA for Outbrain, which is the world's largest content discovery platform and also a growing presence in our market. So to tell us all about that, here's Ido.
Thank you. It's great to be here. We're going to talk today about 4 keys to winning the content revolution, and hopefully we'll have time for a few questions at the end. So before we start, in many of these occasions, whenever I ask people at the start, have any of you heard about Outbrain? Does anyone know what Outbrain is, what we do? Could you raise your hands, please? Oh, okay, awesome. So that's better than usual. But what we do, we are a content discovery platform. We serve recommendations across the biggest publication sites around the world. This is an example from the BBC, surprisingly enough, in which we recommend stories that originate from 2 places. The first set of the recommendations that we serve is what we call organic recommendations, recommendations to other pieces of content within the publications that you're reading right now. The second type of recommendations is what we call from around the web, which is our paid index, in which marketers pay in order to get their content surfaced and recommended in front of our users. So in this example, we have Ernst & Young running a campaign and actually getting eyeballs off the BBC website. Once you click, you move into the website and you read the content that they have on the site. Recently, we have launched our activity in the South African market. We've partnered with our friends in national positions. And these are 2 examples of recommendations that we serve on local sites. The first one is a text widget that we serve on Times Live. The second one is what we call a thumbnail strip that we serve on Channel 24. I hope that most of you have seen these recommendations and liked them and hopefully clicked on them. What I would like to talk about today is how content is changing the world of online marketing and how we see things evolving in this sense. So here we have a little experiment that I'd like to share with you guys. It's a column out of the New York Times. It's a review for the HTC One, and it's quite old. It's the older model, not the M8, but the older model. And this is what David Pogue, the columnist at the New York Times, had to say about the HTC One. I'll give you a second to read that. And this is the guy, to remind you, this is the guy that gets all the most interesting gadgets everyone would kill in order to get a good review coming out of him. And this guy loved this phone, so just a quick quote. It's an Android phone, the most beautiful one you've ever seen. Seriously, it makes you feel happy and calm just holding this thing in your hand. There's a picture of the HTC One next to gorgeous in the dictionary. Okay? Not a lot of products get this review from the New York Times. So what I would like to ask you after reading these quotes is, has anyone here thought about opening Bank Street Graduate School of Education, applying for a degree there? No, I imagine you haven't. Has anyone considered opening a checking account on Capital One, which is a US bank? I imagine you haven't done that too. And has anyone considered buying an Asus computer? Probably not. And the reason I'm asking is because these brands actually paid quite a lot of money to appear in front of your eyes. And again, this is the tech section of the New York Times. This is as prime location as it gets. And I'm pretty confident that even though this was open on the screen for, let's say, about a minute, on huge screens in front of a huge audience, no one has even noticed that this is on the screen. So what we see is that 46% of display ads aren't ever seen. This is actually not us. This is coming from ComScore, and which made us, think that we might be missing something. Because when you look at the heat maps, and this is done by Chartbeat, these are all the banners and ads that you have on the page. The heat map shows red is high interest, yellow is medium, and blue is cold. And you see that all the eyeballs go into the content. No one pays any attention to what's going on the side. And when you look at the banners, the top banners on sites like these cost a lot of money to appear in, yet no one is looking on them. So we had a small research and we tried to find out how people spend their time on the internet, and these are the results. And interestingly enough, we want to be in the place where people read content and consume content, and we'll get into that in a second. What we saw is that people don't mind consuming content out of brand websites as long as it's valuable to them, and we'll dive into that in a second, defining what exactly is valuable when you talk about content for users. This is an example from Coca-Cola that actually launched a site called Coca-Cola Journey that is not talking about Coca-Cola products at all. It's talking about their efforts to bring running water, drinking water to villages in Africa. And it's sponsored by Coca-Cola, but it doesn't mention anything about the product itself. The only idea behind this is to, keep the people interested in their brand value, which is happiness, bringing happiness to villages. But how does anyone find it? How does anyone get to Coca-Cola Journey? I imagine that most of you, when you open your browser first thing in the morning, or your cell phone, even before you get out of bed, you don't visit Coca-Cola Journey. It's not the site that is your homepage. So instead of asking how do people find it, we offer them to take control of your audience. So the first thing you need to think about when you want to take control of the audience is to reduce the noise. And just to get a scale of things, a day on the internet is around 2 million blog posts written every day. That's enough to fill the Time magazine for 770 years, okay? How do you deal with all that noise? The second thing is fragmentation, and people consume content from a lot of different devices in many different times of the day, many different patterns and everything. And this is actually a small research that we did. This is the device segmentation. So up and to the left, you have the Samsung Galaxy, and next to it, the iPhone, and then all the rest of the devices. Okay, this is how people consume content. And there are tons of devices and tons of different user experiences that you need to plan ahead to in order to get the best user interface possible. What we've done since we launched our activity in South Africa is we actually had a small research. We are also, we're implemented on a few South African publications, and we also have the data coming out of South African IPs when you visit sites outside of South Africa. So if you visit Sky News, for example, which is a publisher that we work with in the UK, we still get the data from South Africa. And I'd like to share a few points that we saw on this research. South Africa, as in most countries, the content consumption is around noon, which means that most of you, when you're at the office, instead of working, are actually looking at content pieces around the web. So if anyone here is a boss and has a team under him, check what your workers are doing around noon. What we saw on different devices was that, again, much like in other different countries, content consumption on mobile, which is both smartphones and tablets, is between, let's say, it peaks around 9 p.m. Okay, so we know that people usually use their desktop computers when they're at work and everything. When they go back home and they're commuting, or when they're in bed and they want to consume content, peacefully, they usually consume it either through their phone or their tablet. What we saw when you compare that to other countries is that South Africa has slightly higher engagement than the global average. And we look at engagement as the time that you spend on the sites, and the bounce rate. The lower the bounce rate, the higher the engagement. And as you can see here, it's slightly higher than the global average that we're seeing. It's about 1% above average. The US, for example, is 2% below average. Okay, so one of the good things of having our code installed on all big publishers around the world, is that we could run these comparisons and see what's going on globally. The third thing is matching the content with intent. So if we go back to the chart that we saw earlier, in about 74% of the time, people are just looking to get content and get entertained or informed. And I didn't go into everything that Outbrain does on the publisher side. I mentioned that Outbrain generates recommendations, what we call organic, within the same publication. And I'm not going to get into that. We could have a full day just discussing that side of our business. What I do want to focus on is how do you guys, as marketers, can utilize this information in order to get more attention out of your potential users. So 74% of the time, they're actually not looking for you. They're not looking to buy anything. How do you get their attention? So here are the four keys, and I'll try to go over them pretty quickly. We will go, deeper into that in the think tank that we're having later today. So the first one is to plan for discovery. Okay, you want to get discovered, like we saw in the Coca-Cola example. Putting the content on the web is not everything. Okay, having something existing on some website, that's one thing. Having people get to it, that's an entirely different thing. So instead of asking how do I make more and better content, and this is, by the way, the discovery. Last time I ran this presentation, people didn't understand why I used the space shuttle, so it's called discovery. That's why the challenge, discovery. And it's been decommissioned, so that was its last flight. Instead of asking how do I get more people, how to create more content, how do I get my content in front of the right people? Okay, so, first of all, you need to ask yourselves, who is the audience? Who am I targeting? Who do I want to reach? The second thing is, where do they spend their time? Okay, as I know about myself, I rarely go into commercial websites. I only visit Amazon, and that's only when I want to buy something. The rest of the time, I'm visiting publishers, or at least sites that have some sort of content that might be interesting for me. And why are they there? So again, each different type of user has their own different interest. And when you look at these questions, what we see is that your content needs to fit a few patterns. So the first one, it needs to be interesting. Naturally, if it's not interesting, no one's going to stay there, no one's going to visit your site, no one's going to do anything about it. If it's interesting, then people would probably share it either on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or all other social platforms. The third thing it needs to be specific in some cases, because that's how you win search. If people are searching for specific terms, you want your content to be able to answer those search queries. Another thing to create engagement with your potential clients is to have a timely and requested info, whether it's direct responses on email or newsletters or any other type of timely platform that creates that point of contact with the potential user. The second thing is to publish worthwhile content, and this is a huge issue for us. We look at our content as something that each of us at Outbrain would like to click on ourselves. So when you look at the word content, one of the meanings for the term content is to satisfy, and we definitely want to satisfy people. A lot of the times when potential buyers submit content to our network, we reject it because it's too sales-oriented, it doesn't provide any value. I don't have anything to do with a product page just saying, this is the best product ever, you need to buy it. Okay, it needs to be something that's interesting, relevant, provides value to someone, and satisfies them. When you look at the differences between content marketing and conventional advertising, so content marketing is into providing value, while advertising is focused on promoting the product. And this is a different approach completely. So we have a lot of discussions with potential buyers on the differences between those approaches. When you look at examples from the world, this is a company called Red Bull. What do they manufacture? Energy drink, thank you. What do they have to do with helping someone jump out of a satellite, trying to break 5 world records of the longest free fall, fastest free fall, and all of those? So the guy called Felix Baumgartner did this on a project called the Red Bull Stratos that had absolutely nothing to do with the drink itself. They did not mention the drink once during this campaign. Still, they broke the internet way before Kim Kardashian did it because everyone were interested in hearing what was going on there, and they broadcasted it live with videos and everything. So this is an example of a company doing proper content marketing. Again, not focusing on the product, but providing value to potential users. And I bet that after this stunt, a lot of the people that walked into a grocery store and saw Red Bull and saw an Excel standing next to it, they probably preferred Red Bull, even without Red Bull ever mentioning the product itself. So what we see is that 71% of consumers trust brands that provide useful information without trying to sell them anything. And this is important. This is something we're trying to teach potential buyers. It's a very, very difficult discussion to make with people that get the brief and tell us, okay, we want to sell X. And we tell them, okay, but we're not an advertising platform, we're a content marketing platform. You will get to the sell point eventually, but not through us. You need to go through a different route, and we're just the entry phase for the funnel. Another example that we have is a company called Allstate, an insurance company from the US. Again, they have a blog, and in this blog they have an infographic called The King of the Grill, how to help people have their barbecue ready and all set up. Again, and they mentioned the safety. You need to make sure that you start the fire away from the gas, and you keep your children away from the fire. Again, providing value in the world that they live in. They're an insurance company, but they're not telling you, okay, we're the best insurance company in the world, you have to work with us. No, not at all. So that's on that. And the third thing is that you need to match the content with intent. So if someone is searching on Google for Halloween child safety, and you want to attract their attention, you need to have the content that answers that question. So that's a relevant question. A lot of people are interested in child safety around Halloween, and this is an article on a site called Scholastic that's titled Halloween Children's Safety, Costumes, Trick-or-Treating, and Candy, etc., etc. So if someone is looking for child safety and Halloween, he got to your content. And then you could start pitching whatever the product or service that you want to pitch to them. The fourth key is to track the influence. So in many of the conversations that we have, people tell us, okay, I'm going to launch my content into the internet, and what happens next? How do I track the success? How do I convey the message that this was successful? How do I sell this within my own organization? So there are quite a few ways to do that, and there are technological platforms that help to do this. Google Analytics is the obvious one, but there are quite a few more. And we basically recommend following these 5 things. There are quite a few more, but these are the 5 main ones. So first of all, the number of uniques you get into your content. How many people do you want to attract? The number of page views that these people generate within your content. The repeat visits, you could track that and see how many people you got, how many new users you got into your content, and of course the time on site, which is relevant to the interest that people show on your content. Another research, again done by Chartbeat, shows that as the higher the average engage time during the first visit, the more likely it is for people to come back to your website. So again, once people are in, you need to make sure that they have the best content in front of them. So these are the 4 keys, just to go over them really quickly. Content marketing is here to stay. We see it happening online more and more globally. This is actually not a new thing. It's easy to think that content marketing is a new thing that only got developed on the internet. That couldn't be further from the truth. We have examples of companies doing proper content marketing. Up to 150 years ago, we have a company called John Deere, which I don't know if you know, had a magazine called The Pharaoh that appeals to farmers and tells them what are the right plants to plant, when to reap, when to sow, and when to seed, when to water, and everything. And not selling John Deere tractors. So that was 150 years ago. They're still doing that online. Only it's cheaper and easier today because they don't have to print it and deliver the copies all across the world. So first key, plan for discovery. Don't just leave your content hanging anywhere. A lot of companies do that for SEO purposes, writing entire articles that hide somewhere on the site just to get the Google crawlers to scan and index the site. Get it discovered. The second thing, publish worthwhile content. Okay, think about it as a user. You're not trying to sell anything to anyone. You just want to make them feel like the content is interesting. You should be your toughest critic. The third thing is to match the content with intent. And the fourth thing is to track the influence so that you would have the keys to analyze and know how good your campaign was. So we have 30 seconds for questions, unless we get more time from the crew over there. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Any questions? No questions at all. Yeah, I see someone there in the back. I'm sorry, I can't hear anything you're saying.
Hi, so you're currently working with publishers to put content obviously in front of users that are going to websites.
Yes.
Is there any plans for you to start to facilitate the social engagement?
We're thinking about quite a few ideas. The main thing is that social trends tend to act a little differently. However, we do take into account the traffic that we see coming from social platforms into the content. Just to get a scale of things, we currently serve about 190 billion recommendations around the world each month. And out of those, we see that a lot of the signals that we're getting into what's interesting right now, and it's important to stress out, we look for interesting, okay? Interesting isn't necessarily relevant, and relevant isn't necessarily interesting. You don't want to read the same for the one thing, same from the same thing. But we see that social trends, if we get an indication that some specific article received, let's say 1,000 visits from Facebook in the past 30 minutes, that's extremely valuable for us. So we put that into account in the algorithms, and we give it more stress, and we show it more on the recommendations, yes. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day.